The biggest reason people stay stuck in corporate jobs or any job that they hate is primarily because they're scared if they quit, they won't be able to pay the bills. And let's face it, that's a real reality. You have responsibilities. You have to pay a mortgage. You have expenses. You have bills. You have debt. And you can't just quit your job without a plan. But here's the thing, you don't have to quit your job to start building your way out. You just have to be strategic about it. For 5 years, I worked a corporate job that I was not crazy about, and I knew I had to get out, but I knew I had to make an income and a living on the side of my job. This is the 8-step method that I used to escape my job within just 6 months and start doing $10,000 a month on the side of my job. In this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how you can do the same thing so that you don't have to go broke doing this. All right, here we go. Here's my master plan. Please don't judge my handwriting. I know I'm not an artist, but this is exactly what I did to escape my job, and I'm gonna walk you through it step by step so that you can do the exact same thing. The very first thing I have written down here is called the MTC. I call this your minimum time commitment. I want you to imagine each one of these segments are months. Your competition, when I say competition, anyone who's really trying to do this typically gets to about here. That's when they give up. What I'm asking you to do is set on your calendar a quit date. This is your deadline in a 6-month window. Now, can it take longer than this? Yes. Can it be shorter than this? Yes. It's going to come down to how hard you actually work, but having a deadline on your calendar is actually going to force you to take action. And the closer you make this deadline, the harder you're going to work. That's just how it works. Now, like I said, most people give up here. Most people do not even make it to the 6-month point. So if you're serious about doing this, I want you to get out your calendar and write 6 months from now, you are going to quit your job and you cannot give up in this window. But the rest of this map is going to be what your time is going to look like in this 6 months. What I have here, number 2, is your MOC, and this is your model of choice. Now, I highly, highly, highly recommend if you're going into trying to do a business on the side of your job, picking an online business that has low barrier, meaning that it's not going to cost a lot of money to get into. Of course, every single business that you want to do is going to have some cost attached to it. So just keep that in mind. Again, you're an entrepreneur here. You're going to have to spend a little bit of money to make money in pretty much any single business I can think of. But online businesses, if you're working a full-time job, are best because when you get home, you can get right to work. You can also try and do some work in your downtime at your job. I also like to pick businesses that are low risk, right? Maybe you're not housing a whole bunch of inventory. There's not a ton of upfront capital. Okay, I'm going to list some businesses that I would recommend. Am I going to do that here or later? Yeah, we'll do it here. Affiliate marketing, really good business because, again, that's just learning the skill of marketing so that you can promote other people's products. That is what I did. I will talk a little bit more about that in a sec. Obviously, anything e-commerce, right? Shopify, running ads, drop shipping, if you want to get into that. I will say I've tried drop shipping, I tried Amazon. Both are a lot more work than a lot of people say that it's cut out for. So just keep that in mind. I'd highly recommend starting with affiliate marketing. High ticket sales, probably anything in the AI industry would be good as well. Anything up and coming. Again, anything online is probably best, but the idea here with your MOC is that you pick one. Pick one and stick to it, because here's what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to see a business model that they hear on social media and they're going to say, oh, that looks interesting. Let me hop on and try it, right? And then they dabble and they're like, oh, there's a lot of work to this, right? There's way more that's cut out for this, right? Maybe you get your real estate license. You're like, wow, there's a lot of work that goes into actually selling a house. Man, I don't know if I want to do this. And then they shift and they pivot to something else, okay? Pivoting's totally fine, but it's just that shiny object syndrome that you're pivoting too fast before you actually take the time to make it work. That's the entire point of the 6-month window is you pick one thing and you stick to it, okay? Now, it's okay to fail forward. Like I said, I tried multiple business models and I ended up failing at a lot of them, but each time I failed, I learned something and carried it to the next thing. I just knew that I had to get out of my job and I was going to find a way. Real quick, if you're watching this and you want help building your way out of a corporate job, I do offer one-on-one coaching in which I will help you do so through TikTok Shop. It's not for everybody, but if that sounds like something that you're interested in, please check the link in the description for how to apply. All right, back to the video. So that's what you're going to do in this. Once you have that model of choice, again, something online would be my recommendation. We are going to enter phase 3, the quiet quitting phase. This part is probably the most important part of this entire thing, and it's probably the hardest part to execute. Now, I have a definition of quiet quitting that's maybe a little bit different than what other people would describe. Quiet quitting does not mean you just stop working and you're just like sitting back yawning all day at your job trying to get fired. No, you don't want to get fired, okay? What I have written down for quiet quitting is you're doing all that is asked and nothing more. You're making your job boring and you're passing off any work that you possibly can to maybe someone else, Maybe you're passing off meetings and you're doing everything that you possibly can to steal minutes back in your day. Because remember, you're fighting for your freedom here, and every single minute matters. Okay, once you kind of can execute this quiet quitting phase, I'm going to explain how you can steal back some time from your job. This is what your day, your week actually looks like. Monday to Friday, 2/3 of your day is taken up from working and sleeping. So you only have really this window to work with. But here's most people's schedules, okay? They go to work, they come home, they eat dinner, they go to the gym, they come back, they watch their favorite TV show or their favorite sports game, they go to bed, and they say, I'm too tired to do anything else, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. And this cycle repeats. If you want to get out of your job, you have to utilize your weekdays and your weeknights. It's extremely important that you do, because every minute matters. So how are we going to steal back time? Now, the first thing, the biggest thing is your weekends, okay? I wrote I'm busy in here, meaning on weekends, Friday nights, Saturdays, Sundays. A lot of people will say on Sundays, oh, I'm just going to kick back and relax. I don't work on Sundays. Again, you're fighting for your freedom here. So you have to utilize every day that you can. So when your friend asks you, hey man, I've got this thing, I want you to ask yourself, is it worth trading another day of your life working at one of these corporate jobs? If the answer is no, then say no, I'm busy, because you're working on the thing that's gonna get you all of your time back, okay? So weekends, you're busy. How do we execute on the weekdays and the weeknights? Because this is really hard for a lot of people. The biggest thing is you're gonna have to shake off bad habits, okay? When I got home, usually my routine was I'd go straight to the gym after work, I'd come home, I'd eat dinner, and then I'd be too tired to do anything else. So I had to give up. Some nights I gave up going to the gym, which is hard. I love the gym. I'm not telling you not to go to the gym, because again, that's a healthy habit, but I had to give it up because every minute matters. Now, I'd also, instead of coming home, but that hour between like 7 p.m. and 11 p.m., I'm eating quick. I'm eating out every single day. I'm not cooking dinner. I'm just grabbing Chipotle or something like that. I'm coming home, I'm eating it, and I'm getting right to work. Except here's the thing. I already know what I have to work on, because I have to have that creative energy, again, done earlier. I can't just sit down and start trying to be creative at night, because I'm going to be burnt from the day. So I have to know what I'm going to execute on when I get home from work, which comes down to utilizing your weekdays, okay, during work, after that time you pass off, to stack skills every single day. When I say stack skills that translate across all businesses, sales, marketing, short form content creation, AI, right? You want to be learning everything about this. I would literally sit in my office when I pass off these meetings, or during downtime, your lunch hours, right? Those hours between 3 and 4 p.m. or 3 and 5 p.m. when you kind of have done all of your work. You can find time. I promise you can find time. Tell people you're busy, block off time in your calendar. I want you to be listening to podcasts, YouTube videos, audiobooks, anything you can have your headphones in. Maybe you have a little bit of a notebook or a Google Doc open where you're taking notes on whatever business model you're trying to do, and you're planning for when you get home. So what I did, obviously, if you're familiar with my story, I did TikTok Shop affiliate marketing. That is how I used to get out of my 9-to-5 job. What I would do is I would learn anything sales or marketing related during the times that my boss was around, right? They couldn't see me. I just had my AirPod in. Or anytime they weren't looking, I'd be scripting out, like during my lunch hours, I'd be scripting out my videos so that when I came home and it was time to actually film and execute, I knew exactly what I was going to be talking about. I knew exactly what I was going to be making. I didn't have to waste any time trying to be creative when I got home, because I did a lot of that work during the workday itself. So again, that quiet quitting period, you're stealing back time from your job, because they're stealing time from you. And I'm a big advocate for shorter work hours. Like the 8 to 5 to me is ridiculous. I think, who has the ability to focus on something for 9 hours straight? It's a very outdated policy, but we'll talk about that another time. But this is what we have to work with right now. This is your standard day. So another way you can implement quiet quitting, by the way, is trying to get another job that allows you to work remote. I actually took a pay cut from one of my jobs just strictly so that I can work from home 2 days a week. I was making $20,000 less per year just so that I can work from home 2 days a week. And during those work from home days, I got a lot done, because I was able to get my job done and get a lot of this stuff done. So if you can get a job that allows you to work a little less hours in an office, by all means, do it, okay? By all means, do it. Even that means you got to take a pay cut. Again, you're fighting for your freedom. All right, down here, this is very important. It's called your minimum income income budget, MIB, not Men in Black. I wrote that out. I was like, oh, MIB stands for Men in Black. No, minimum income budget. Okay, this is how much do you need for survival. What I want you to do is get out a piece of paper and I want you to write down all of your current expenses. And then what I want you to do is cut any of your subscriptions. I want you to cut your car payment. If you can reduce your car payment, because we all need cars, right? But if you can reduce your car payment by a couple $100s a month, then do it, okay? Maybe you can reduce your rent, right? Maybe you have family you can move into. Maybe you can take on a roommate, right? What do you need to survive? You cut out travel, you cut out your food out, you cut out your entertainment, okay? Anything that you don't need for survival that you can live off of, this is your minimum income budget, which is also your freedom number. Once you have this number written out, this is the number that you want to hit on the side of your job before you quit, okay? And now I like to do this, and I'll talk about this over here, but I like to actually do this twice. I want to have 2 months in a row where I hit my freedom number before I consider quitting my job, or have a runway set up before I quit so I actually have money put away, okay? But again, we're going to talk about confidence that comes from the skill sets later down in this section, but this is the number you want to hit. When it comes to making your freedom income budget, okay, please, 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 I want you to write it down, because if you have a number written down, what I did is I had a whiteboard and I wrote target goal. I looked at that number every single freaking day because I knew if I could make that much money on the side of my job, I get my time back. I get my life back. I can do whatever I want during the day, and I have total control. Okay, yeah, I'm still going to be working on my business and whatever I'm crafting up, but I have total control. So I visualized this number and I thought about it, and I stayed up late at night thinking about hitting this number, and I knew that I was going to do it. And if you're familiar with my story at all, the month that I actually wrote it out, it was $3,000. That was my minimum income budget. And I actually hit a $10,000 month that month that I actually wrote it down. So when you write it down, please, please, please look at it, be serious about it. This is the number that literally will save your life. Not trying to be dramatic, but again, this is the one you really want to hit. Okay, number 5, damn, this sucks. This is the period of time where you are going to be working and not being handed a paycheck. It sucks. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody will do it. In fact, the reason that 95% of people, maybe 99% of people stay stuck in these jobs is because they're going to maybe do all of this, but they can't do this. Now, this comes back here. This period, okay, this period of from starting all the way to when you're starting to make money, this could be 6 months. This could be a year. This could be 2 years. I don't know. It might be different for everyone else. But that period where you're putting in the work and not making an income, it sucks. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's hard, right? You're going to be trading off your social life. You're going to be trading off things that you like, working on something, and in your mind, you're going to be thinking, is this worth it? Is this really worth my time? And to me, this was the most mentally challenging part of this entire process, because all my friends, doing fun stuff. I'm looking at their stories on weekends. They're going out, right? Sports games, parties, stuff like that. And I'm in my 20s and I want to experience life, but I also know I'm not happy with the life that I'm currently living. So I have to do something different, which means I have to delay my dopamine, delay my gratification, to pass off knowing that if I stick with this, it will work. Now, you might be 3 months into this and maybe you haven't made a single dollar, and you're gonna be sitting there thinking, did I just waste 3 months of my time? No, because if you're treating this seriously, you're learning every single day, and you know that inevitably you will win as long as you're chasing a skill set. Again, a skill set that is going to make you money. Sales, marketing, content creation, you're reading, you're studying every day. I used to take 3 hours every Sunday for my relaxation period, but in my relaxation period, you know what I didn't do? I didn't go out and party, I didn't go drink, I didn't go lay in bed. If I was gonna lay in bed, I had a book, right? At night, instead of watching TV shows, I'm watching a sales training video. I remember laying in bed watching a 4-hour Hermosi sales training video, literally for 4 nights in a row. I watched this instead of watching movies and shows and things that I like doing. I just traded those bad habits away for habits that I knew would increase my skill set. And that's exactly what you need to do. And that's during this damn this sucks period. It's hard. It is hard, and most people fail here. So when you're sitting there thinking, is it worth it? Just remember I told you, it is worth it, but you have to push through. You have to be perseverant. You have to not give up, and you have to ignore people who think that you're crazy. Because this is another really big thing, and I probably should have written this in because it is this important, but ignoring the advice of everyone that you wouldn't trade lives with. You will get criticism, maybe from your family. You might get criticism from your best friends. You might get criticism from your circle. You might get criticism from your boss or your coworkers saying, "What are you doing?" Right? That's not gonna work. Didn't you know so and so tried that and it failed for them? I've heard that's a scam. Let me tell you something. This is a true story. I had a coworker. I'm not going to say his name or anything, and he's a good guy, by the way. But I remember talking to him about the business that I was doing. And I remember talking to him about a book that I was reading. It was called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, one of my favorite books of all time. And he looks at me and he goes, that's all foo-foo stuff. That stuff's not real. Yeah, I heard that business actually isn't going to make a lot of money. He's like, are you sure you're doing the right thing? If I had taken his advice and I had listened to him and I had taken that into account and actually changed and said, maybe this isn't a waste of time, I wouldn't have been able to quit my job. I wouldn't be here where I'm at today. So you have to ignore the advice of most people because most people are okay with remaining average. And if you're watching this video, you're not okay with remaining average. In fact, that thought pains you. It pains me. The thought of sitting in an office working for someone for my entire life was painful for me. The thought of retiring when I was 60 or 70 years old, that was painful for me. I want to live a life that I want to live now. I don't want to wait, which means you have to ignore 90% of people because 90% of people are living that life that you don't want to live. So please, by all means, during this damn this sucks period, anybody who offers criticism, don't take it. And if it's coming from your friend group, if they're calling you names or saying that you look dumb for trying, they're probably not your friends because good friends are going to lift you up and support you and say you can do anything that you want. Okay? Just because they don't understand, it does not mean that you're in the wrong place. Doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing. Just because they don't see the opportunity of what you're doing does not mean that you're crazy. It means that they just don't see the opportunity and you keep pushing anyways. Okay, next. Number 6, save and start taking bets on yourself. Okay, I love the taking bets on yourself. That actually comes from Alex Ramosi, so shout out him. But taking bets on yourself can mean investing in things that you need, right? Maybe it's investing in equipment or business expenses. Maybe you want to get into YouTube, so you need to buy a camera. Maybe you need to buy software on your computer. Maybe you have to invest and buy in knowledge, mentorships, and courses and skip the trial and error process. There's a lot of people online who say courses are a scam. You know what's a scam? College. College is a scam. They'll charge you hundreds and thousands of dollars and put people in debt for jobs that return them $70,000 a year. So when people say that's a scam or courses are a scam, there are bad course instructors, there are bad mentors, right? There are bad people who teach information, but there are also good people. I always like to use this analogy. That's like having one bad relationship and saying, I'm never dating again, right? No, you learn from that past relationship, you know what you're not looking for, and you can find and make better choices down the road. So this comes down to, again, making bad bets is learning to make better ones. If you invest in something, my very first mentorship I invested in was terrible. The guy ghosted me. He had led me no instruction. He didn't teach me anything. I'm pretty sure he was fraudulent. He actually never showed me any of the things that he actually said that he did. So I don't know, but I was like, my gosh, and I spent $3,000 on that. And I was pretty damn broke at the time. What did I do? A week later, I'm not recommending anyone do this, but I pulled out of my 401k and I invested in another mentorship and spent another $3,000. That mentorship, shout out UK, thank you for helping me. That mentorship changed my life and gave me this skill set to actually, and strategy to actually apply it. And within 2 months of that mentorship, I was doing $10,000 a month. So again, if I didn't have that knowledge, right, I wouldn't have been able to skip the trial and error process because for 3 months that I did not invest and bet on myself, right, I was spinning my wheels. I was going in circles. And so a lot of times mentors and courses and learning from people who have actually done it will allow you to skip that trial and error and point out to you what you're doing wrong, or you will probably spin your wheels and give up around this part right here. Okay, I invested in my mentorship, let's see, month 1, month 2, month 3. I invested here and I quit my job by here. Okay, if I invested here, I may have quit by here. So it really comes down to just making good decisions on who you decide. But I will say this, there's a ton of free good information online. Utilize that, utilize books. Maybe part of your expenses in betting yourself is you just buy books and read and study. Okay, because again, you can figure stuff out yourself, but if you are in a place where you're spinning your wheels, reach out, ask for help, invest in equipment, business expenses, save money to make bets on yourself. That should be your biggest expenses. The biggest expenses. You're cutting this stuff so that you can start doing this. This is an imperative step. I've invested over $10,000 into learning this education, and it has returned me more than college ever has. My literal, my projection income this year is literally probably over $300,000. And at my job from a college education after 5 years working was $80,000. Do the math. Which one was the better investment, college or the mentorships that I invested in for $10,000 across all of them. Definitely the mentorships had a much higher ROI. All right, this leads me to step number 7. When do you actually quit? Okay, say you do all of this stuff right, you will start making money. You will start making money as long as you don't give up, right? You're gonna do so much volume, it's gonna be unreasonable for you not to succeed. This is when you're gonna be making at least half your salary for 2 to 3 months. Okay, this is what I did. I actually pulled the trigger a little bit earlier. Probably wasn't the most logical decision I made, but it was a very emotional decision where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And as soon as I was making income on the side, I quit because I trusted myself. The biggest thing here is I trusted my skill set. Okay, right here. When to quit. When to quit comes down to trusting in the skill set that you developed building on the side of your job to where you can think, I can make money. I can make money for myself now, I'm good. Now, you're not going to be always super confident and it's still gonna be scary. There's not gonna be a time where it's not gonna be scary to quit because again, your whole life you've been told what to do. You've been told where to be and what to dress and what to wear and what to do at your job, right? You've been told your whole life and now you're gonna be on your own. That's scary, right? And so you utilize this as long as you have to, but for me, I felt ready. I felt confident. I told the world what I was gonna do and I did it. And I'm so glad I did it. It's been the best decision I've ever made in my entire freaking life because I was smart about it and I trusted in my skill set. Not saying it wasn't scary. It was a little bit scary. And I said that when on the day I quit and documented it. I was like, I'm walking in right now to quit my job. Is it scary? Yeah, it's a little scary, but I can do this. And that's the mentality you have to have. The other thing I have here is enough saved for around 6 months if things go wrong. I didn't even have this, to be honest with you. I had probably enough saved for like 2 months. But if you're either making around half your salary, meaning if you're making, say you're making $6,000 a month at your job, my concept with this is if you're making $6,000 on the side of your job, or $3,000 on the side of your job, if you were to have full days, then you'd be able to at least double that. That was my thought process for that. But you at least want to be making, if you're doing $6,000 a month, you at least want to be making at least $3,000 a month, or at least be hitting this number 2 times in a row. So that's when to quit, right? But that's going to be different for everyone depending on your situation. I'm single, right? I didn't have a family. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have any debt. I don't have kids. So if you have kids and you have debt, you've got a mortgage, right? This freedom number might be higher, right? And it might take you 2 years to do this, but it's entirely possible. And it just comes down to how bad you want it. I wanted it really bad. Number 8, taking the leap. This is it. This is the day that you walk in and quit. This is your freedom day. Again, this is going to be the greatest feeling in the entire world. Actually, the best feeling is when you start making money and you're walking into your job thinking, I don't need to be here, right? When you start making an extra $4,000 or $5,000 a month on the side of your job and thinking, these people have no idea that I'm making more on the side than I am at my actual job right now, right? And you're gonna have confidence too. I remember the month that I had my $10,000 a month on the side of my job back in May, right? I had made more in one day by noon than I was gonna make for 3 days at my job. Okay, so I was sitting there, it was during lunch, and I'm sitting at my office, and I'm just like, damn, I've got all the confidence in the world right now. Because like again, if I get fired right now, I'm gonna be okay. I never had a lot of confidence in my job, and I was scared to speak up and scared to voice my opinions on things because I was like, if I say the wrong thing and they fire me, I'm gonna be screaming on the street, I'm gonna be homeless. I'm like, I don't have that fear anymore. And so my confidence skyrocketed. So when you actually take the leap, remember what I said about it's gonna be scary, and that's okay, right? Trust your skill set. I'll leave you with this. You know, when it comes to being scary, we're all gonna die someday, right? That's inevitable. What type of life do you want to live? A life where you're held back by fear of the what if? What's scarier, okay? Laying on your deathbed and thinking, what if I tried that thing? And what if I took the leap? What would my life look like? Or taking the leap and being uncertain, right? That idea of what if I do this, right? What if I don't do this? What's going to happen if I don't take the leap? That to me was way scarier. I would rather, this is one of my favorite quotes, and I actually came up with this, quote me on this. I would rather be uncertain about my future than certain about a future that I don't want. So this is how you escape your corporate job without going broke. Pick one thing, commit, do not give up until it works. If you do want help and guidance getting through this and you don't want to be alone, I do offer one-on-one coaching, helping you get out of your 9-to-5 corporate job through TikTok Shop. That is how I did it. That is how I've helped many other people do the exact same thing. But I only have limited spots open at a time because I can only handle so much one-on-one help. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, there's a link below to apply to work with me. Please check that out in the description below. If you're not ready to take the leap, that's totally okay. I get it. Just pick one thing, stick to it, and don't give up until it works. If this video is helpful at all, please make sure you drop a like and subscribe for more content like this. Also comment, let me know where you're at in your journey. Again, my name's Danny, and thank you so much for watching.